for life safety. But this gives us an opportunity for a fire alarm or something else to not try to come in and destroy your property. So please, during that fire and life safety final, saying, Todd, your inspector, here's the key to my new space. Also, just real briefly, Terminal D is very different. Terminal D, like it was said, has its own concessions plan and concessions manual. Terminal D was built as a performance base. That means a bunch of engineers and architects built that due to the size and everything else, and kind of didn't fit the mold off our prescriptive code. These old buildings, I'm able to take a fire code off the shelf, basically, and implement it. So you're going to see a lot of differences on how we did fire alarm in a Terminal D situation versus these other older terminals. But just understand that you might have additional or different requirements on sign blades or whatever else in Terminal D versus the other. Some common issues. You guys are all business owners and come in here, but these are the things that we see on a somewhat regular basis. You guys want the new fancy plasma screen, menus, whatever else, but then, hey, we need to look at where those strobe devices are and the sprinklers are going to be. Is that going to block, the envelope for the effectiveness of that sprinkler? So it looks good right where it is, but let's pre-plan that. Let's look at that and let's put it all out. Missing fire extinguishers in the public or the kitchen area are hidden from plain view. They're behind a rack, or they're not the most best looking thing out there when you have a beautiful space, but they're required. We need to have it. We need to get the fire at the smallest phase before we do the most damage. So some of the concerns is where those are, and again, the fire and life safety final, I see that, we haven't bought it yet. It's at our other store in Addison, and we just don't have it yet, but it's going to be here this afternoon. Well, guess what? You're not going to open now. So we're trying to work together to making sure we have this together. Chair, tables, merchandise, means of egress. People talk about ingress. Let's look about egress too. You have to have that way out. You have those barriers and everything else we saw in the architectural views, but my whole point of view and my job is making sure people get out. And so making sure that we have that egress opportunity. And again, you guys are all familiar, especially in the restaurant business, is grease. Grease gets accumulated. I'm not going to go in who cleans it, whatever else, but we need to be cautious. We have slips, trips, and fall hazards, but we also have accumulation of grease in the ducts and everything else. So we need to be cautious because that's where I'm going to get the most damage for any fires. That's just going to go over time and burn. So kitchen hood nozzles not being protected from grease. One of those little plastic things come with your kitchen hoods, but those fall off over time. And so unfortunately, they get clogged up. Every 6 months, those things need to be inspected. Everything else is kind of like on a year basis, kind of like your fire extinguisher or everything else, but the kitchen hood is 6 months. And so it's something we need to think about. And that system needs to be hooked into the building fire alarm system. There was some time before that it wasn't. It was a standalone system, but I need to know if there's a fire that happened in one of those restaurant hood systems. General housekeeping, and really it's for employee and firefighter safety. I don't want firefighters to come in here, put water on a fire and everything else, and be having, like that picture before, exit egress issues or falling because of grease accumulation or whatever else. And another thing is, because these spaces are not the size possibly you're looking for, is you kind of cram stuff in where you can. And I understand that, but electrical equipment, that's where a lot of fires happen, is we need to maintain that 3-foot clearance. We need to look at that. So currently, wherever you are in your business, is we need to make sure those closets are clear from combustibles. Too many times we see boxes of cups and everything else right next to the electrical panels. And ultimately, we're all a team. I mean, our whole goal is to be proactive. We have an opportunity now to be on the top of fire detection, suppression, and life safety in regards to having this opportunity to, remodel 4 million square feet. So, we're not an enemy. I want to bring up, we're proactive in regards to not just firefighter safety, but employees and customers. So our goal is to just work with you all to make the best experience and again, thinking about fire safety in a proactive way. Okay, that's all I have. Any questions, concerns? I appreciate it. Be safe.
Todd, thank you very much. Appreciate your support. And you know, since I stand about 15 minutes away from lunch and folks going home, getting on planes and all of that, I'm going to be very brief. But before I get started talking about our schedule of design and the approval process, I want to ask those contractors that we have that are in the house today that are looking to partner with some concessionaires, we'd like to ask you to stand. I'm quite sure they'd like to see you if you're a contractor. Great. Well, take a look around because you may be looking for a contractor, and we wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to acknowledge you guys and thank you for being here today. Okay, with that said, let me talk about the proposal process, if you will. The proposals are due on the 17th of December, okay? I'm going to walk through kind of methodically some of the key points that we need to acknowledge. They will be screened for minimum qualifications by the airport staff, so we've already allocated our process of how we get there. And then the selection committee of 5 to 7 members to determine a proposal that best meets the needs of the airport will be getting the opportunity to review. The top scoring proposals may be asked to make a presentation to the selection committee, and the lease will be sent to the company and must be signed prior to board review. Again, I want to say it must be signed prior to the board review, and the top proposals will be presented to the airport board of directors for further approval. We'll go through the date, the timelines on that as we go further into the presentation. The timeline of our tenant submittal process is critical to understand, and I'm not going to try and read it all, but I want to say that we've got a team, and it's our tenant project management team that has been working diligently over the last couple of years to narrow some processes for us, if you will, and to ensure that we optimize and we're very productive in our efforts going forward, that we mitigate any outstanding issues as best we can. So they've done a great job. But this is our timeline schedule for the projects. You notice that you have all the way down to day 138, or 90 to 50 days for construction. So you've got first day 130, you got like 4.5 months there. When you add in the construction timeline, which varies by concept, you got an additional 3 to 5 months there. So for all intents and purposes, this is a 7.5 to 9.5 period from a process standpoint, holistically. And again, this is estimated, but you can kind of look at what this is calling for. It just kind of walks you through the entire process from a timing standpoint, day by day. And we're going to talk a little more intent to that. So our tenant project management team's goal is to coordinate the concessionaire's design and build out during the trip to ensure completion of projects and of concepts with completing of the terminal phasing. Now, and to also provide the ongoing support and coordination in the development of the concession space through compliance with the DFW design criteria. So if you have questions there, they can answer those questions, your design and the construction process. I would like to ask so that everyone can see, because they're such a unique group and they touch so much of what we're doing. While I take my hat off to all of our various business units, these guys and lady, if you will, really work holistically throughout the entire airport with regard to this project.